What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blondes Building Equity. Today is I think, are going to be our favorite show yet. Sorry for our past guests. Love you guys. But Brandon Turner actually was a big influence on us when we were agents 5 years ago. We started watching his videos. He broke down, he's famous for the Burr method. Mm-hmm. We've all seen it. Everybody's tried to copy him on those videos, but he is the OG and he's built quite the empire. So I'm so excited to ask him some questions today and really get to know him.
I was gonna say that was quite the reputation I got to live up to now. Yeah, I feel like the wise old guy. All right, well, thank you for having me. I've been pumped about doing this. It's gonna be a ton of fun. Yeah, I'm Brandon Turner. Been in real estate now for like 85 years. It feels like I'm 36 right now. Like I was young. My first website, like social thing, was called Real Estate in Your 20s. I was like 24, and I'm like, I can teach you real estate. Now I'm the old guy in the room, and it's weird. Anyway, I do real estate.
Not old.
Yeah, you still got your whole life ahead of you.
Oh, good. I got plenty of years to grow. But yeah, I do real estate, and I like talking about it.
So I think the biggest question that I have, and I know a lot of people probably have, is how did you get started? I know you were really passionate about it, but how did you get started with your first deal? Because I think for us, what we've noticed is the first deal is the hardest, just to get in, put an offer in, get it accepted, go through escrow.
Financing.
So, yeah, walk us through your first deal as far as how you found it and how you got it financed.
Yeah, so my first deal, I'll break up into like two different chunks here, and they both apply to people depending on where you're at. So the first one I didn't even know what real estate was. I didn't care about it, nothing. But I rented a 4-bedroom apartment while I was in college, like going to like some small community college. Rented a 4-bedroom apartment, rented out the other 3 bedrooms to just guys from the college, and I got to live for like super cheap. And then I was like, wait, if I live on the couch and I rent my 4th bedroom out, I could live for free. So my first real estate thing was a quote unquote no money down like house hack situation.
It's like arbitrage, right? Like
and it totally worked. Yeah, it totally worked. I mean, I lived on a couch. I don't recommend that for everyone. But the idea of like, I will sacrifice now, like it's like eating a bowl of Lucky Charms cereal, right? I will eat the cereal now so I can eat the marshmallows later. Like that's like the story of my life is like, eat the marshmallows later. I'm gonna make t-shirts that say eat the marshmallows later.
I would wear that t-shirt for sure.
Okay, so you rented this. You rented the house. Did you have to get permission from the landlord to have other people, or was it just like subleased? Like they were on the lease.
Yeah, technically speaking, you're supposed to. I don't think I actually did for the first couple. I think I just moved people in, and then I think they found out and they're like, hey, they have to be on the lease. And then I made them go and actually be on the lease. And then, we figured it out, and it worked. I mean, I got to live. I think I even made money. Like here I was in college. I think I was making a couple $100 a month off renting the bedrooms out. And still, I had no idea real estate was going to be my thing. All I was thinking at the time was I work at Cold Stone Creamery scooping ice cream and I make $8 an hour. Like I got to do something. And housing is generally everyone's biggest expense, right? Like what you pay for rent or mortgage, that's the biggest thing. So if you can eliminate that, you can have like so much more opportunity to do other things. But people trap themselves on this. I got to have a really nice place and a really nice property, and I don't want roommates. And so they get trapped themselves in. Now the alternative, the second story, a couple years later, or maybe a year later, I actually bought a house. So at the time, this is like 2007, they're giving mortgages out like candy to anybody who has a pulse. And so they approved me for like a stupid expensive mortgage. But my mom was a garage sale mom. I don't know if y'all had garage sale parents, but like every weekend we could pack in the minivan, go garage selling. And I learned from my mom, always negotiate the lowest price, always go for the cheap thing. You can resell it later. So my mom would like flip garage sale items. Yeah, like it's just, you learn from your parents. And so I learned buy the cheapest house. I bought an $80,000 dump house, and I moved in a bunch of buddies into all the bedrooms. And this time, instead of renting a place and renting the bedrooms, I lived in the place and rented the bedrooms. And I sold it a year later, made 25 grand, and that was the start of my kind of career.
And you're like, wait, I'm onto something here. I can make some money in real estate.
No, that's exactly what it was. It was like this proof of concept. I was actually going to go to law school, and I took the LSAT and everything. And I was like going to go to law school. And then I was like, wait, the average lawyer makes like 60 grand their first year. I just made 25 part-time on a house. This is way better. So jumped into real estate.
Wow. And then, so what do you think now that you've been doing it for, 85 years, you said, what do you think is If you were going to start over and you were fresh, no money, what is the best advice you give to kind of start over? What do you think is the best strategy that you found?
Yeah, so here's the way I look at it. Everything works in real estate. I love saying this. Everything works. Like, let's say you were like, you know what? I'm super passionate about vacation rental properties. Great. There is a way to make millions of dollars invested in vacation rentals. But let's say you were like, no, I really am passionate about helping low-income people. I want to do Section 8, which is like the government program. Great. You can make millions of dollars in Section 8. So I like to say, follow the fire. Like, there's a fire in your soul about something. Lean into that, because otherwise you're just going to give up. You're going to be bored. You're going to be frustrated, and you're going to go through hard times and be bored and frustrated anyway. You might as well have it in something that you got some fire about. That said, the cautionary, I guess, lesson with that is fire sometimes shifts a little bit. Like, you'll be like a month into a flip, let's say, right? And then you're like, whoa, this is kind of hard. Vacation rentals sound cool. And then you do that for a month and you're like, oh, actually, Section 8 sounds cool. And so the problem is people shift too much. So if you're going to pick something, stick with it until you're great at it or until it fails, and then shift to something else. But it all works. But if I had to choose, I love, from a cash flow, meaning like just make some money quick perspective, I love vacation rentals. They're just difficult because a lot of counties and a lot of towns are cracking down on them. But if you can find a location where vacation, no, did they? Yeah, that's what. Yep. Yeah, Hawaii's been getting rid of them left and right here. But there's usually loopholes. So here's what's funny about government regulations. Anytime the government puts in regulations about something, like, hey, no more vacation rentals in the normal areas, what that actually does is it eliminates all your competition, because most people want easy, right? They want like the easy button, like, oh, I got a vacation. So instead, when a government puts a regulation in, that is an opportunity to figure a way around it and then make more money. I'll give an exact example. In Maui County, where I live in Maui, they killed all vacation rentals a few years ago. They don't like them. They're almost impossible to get them, except two cases. One, if you live in the property and you have like an extra unit, you can get a permit to have a vacation rental there. So that's one way a person can, you could literally buy $1 million house in Maui and then live for free if you just rented out your second unit, which every property has, as a vacation rental. So loophole number one there. Loophole number two is there are zoned areas down by the beach that are called like condo-tels. They're like hotels, but they're condos. And they have always been and will likely always be okay to have vacation rentals. Great. So I got really good at learning what those are, where those are, and now I have two of them that make like each $7-8 grand a month each in just passive income. And it just works. And everyone else is like, oh, you can't do vacation rentals in Maui. No, you can. You have to learn the rules, and then you learn how to break the rules legally. And that is where there's so much money to be made.
Yeah, we learned at a conference one time, and it's now been what I live by is other people's problems is your opportunity. So the way that if you learn how to solve, if there's a problem now, my mind is just completely changed from learning this. Now when something's hard, I'm excited because I'm like, everybody else thinks this is hard and they're going to give up. So that's what happened with my first flip in Puerto Rico. It was, nothing's renovated there. Everybody's moving there for taxes. And it was just hard. It was so difficult that nobody wanted to try. They didn't speak Spanish. So I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to be the one that can renovate all these homes for people. And then it was just like such an opportunity. So if you guys are listening and see a problem, if you approach it differently and somebody tells you can't do it, oh, that's a challenge. You got to be like, oh, okay, let me figure this out, because there's loopholes in everything, in taxes and in investing into real estate, in all things. You just have to figure out the way and work harder than anybody else.
Yeah, and I think another thing, because we do live by that rule, window times right now, it's like so hard to get windows. And so we're doing this fix and flip in LA, and we're giving ourselves anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It's just a cosmetic fix and flip. And the only thing that we're waiting on is windows. And so our contractor was like, unless you can get to the owner himself, like, I don't know how you're going to expedite the windows.
No, he literally said, I know you can't. And like, just get this out of your mind. There's no way to get windows faster. And literally both of us were like fired up. When someone tells us no, we're like, okay.
So what did we do? We went on Instagram and we messaged 100 window companies and manufacturers, and we got them to reply, and they're like, if you promote us, we'll work with you and expedite your shipping and give you a discount. So it's like, obviously not everyone can do that, but where
we found our strength.
Where there's problems, there's opportunity. So that's the way that we look at it now. That's the way that I think you look at things. And that's how you'll be the most successful, is if you change your mindset in that sense. So I like that you're doing vacation rentals. I want to go back to one of your first properties. So how, instead of renting and doing like the renting arbitrage, how did you actually purchase your first property? Did you have the down payment? Did you use a private money lender? Did you get investors? Like, walk me through that, the financial process, because I think that's what stops a lot of people, because they think if they don't have the money, they don't know how to do it. So I want to know how you did it.
Yeah, sure. So that very, very first house I bought, I think I used basically what today they call it the FHA loan. It's like a 3.5% down. At the time, they had another name for it and it was a little different. But basically, it was a 3% down loan that was given if you're going to live in the property. They still have it today. FHA, 3.5% down now. It used to be 3, now it's 3.5. And as long as you're going to live in the property or plan to live in the property for at least a year, you can get this crazy low down payment loan. So that's all I did for the first deal. Now, I needed to fix it up. I didn't have like the 20 grand to fix it up. So for that, I used a combination. I used a little bit of credit card stuff, knowing like I would eventually pay it off, which I don't always recommend, but you know, it worked. And then I think I borrowed like 10 grand from my parents. I was like, hey, I got this house. We're almost done with it, but I'm at the very end and I'm out of credit. Can I borrow 10 grand? I'll pay it right back. And I used they had a line of credit on like their house. I used that. Now I do want to say here, a lot of times when people listen to podcasts like this and they hear stories like your just window story, right? Or they hear mine of I borrowed 10 grand from my parents. Their instant reaction to that is, oh, must be nice to have that, right? And they find a way to take themselves and say, this is why it's not possible for me. But I just want to encourage people listening. This, like, everybody has an unfair advantage somewhere. Like, everybody has that thing, right? So don't go, oh, it must be nice. Like, must be nice is like the most irritating phrase in the world to me, because everybody has something that's nice. So figure out what yours is and figure out a way. If it wasn't that, it was something else. And anyway, there's always a way to do it. But yeah, for me, it was make it happen, the low down payment loan, and it worked.
That's what we're working with this agent right now that sends us a lot of off-market properties. And that's what I always tell him too, is that we have advantages that maybe some other people don't. But what I always encourage everyone, you have something that someone else does not have. If you can add value to someone else, they will help you. Find out what your value add is. We know ours very, very clearly, and we bring that to the table. Therefore, we know what we're giving to get something in exchange. So I think anyone who's watching, I encourage you guys, write down what your value adds are. Write down what you're good at. You either have a lot of time or you have a lot of money. Some people have both.
Barbara Corkin talked about
yeah, Barbara taught us this. But you either have a lot of time or you have a lot of money. So if you don't have a lot of money, I'm assuming you have a lot of time. So if you have a lot of time, you're going to do the groundwork for the people that do have the money. And then you're going to take the people that do have the money and use their money. And with your time, you're going to make them money. If you have a lot of money, obviously you can be a private money lender. There's ways to, give it to people that have time. But I think just understanding what your value add is very, very important when starting out. So I always encourage people understand that. And you have something that other people don't have. And if you don't, then find something. Specialize yourself in something. Do the work.
Yeah, that's such a key there. Yeah, I was gonna say specialize. I love that you said that. Like specialize. Like real estate is a knowledge game. Like, and the knowledge is out there. It's free. Get good at something. Like, oh, you're better at Section 8 than anybody else that you know. That is a valuable skill. It's a rare and valuable skill. Or you're good at understanding zoning regulations in an area. Great. Like, and a lot of people listening are like, well, I don't want to learn zoning regulations. Okay, well, you don't want to be poor either. So like, pick your hard and like go it. Like, get good at it. Read some books. Go to your library. Like, it doesn't cost anything to get smart.
I think also when you say like I'm not good at, I think a lot of times we put ourselves into the box, and like maybe in school someone told you like you're not good at math, and the rest of our life we think I'm not good at math, instead of just saying like you can and you are good at everything. So approaching it that way, because the second I would be like, oh, I'm not good at that, then I would honestly just give up. And I'm like, wait, when was the last time I genuinely tried that skill? So it's like, I don't think anybody should say they're not good at something, but also be familiar with your weaknesses and find partners. I think like Jessica's and I's partnership has been so beneficial for us both in our progress, because we know our strengths and weaknesses so well that if there's a weakness, we identify it and we say, okay, you know what, I could do this because I can do anything, but I know somebody else would do it better. So let's bring them on the team, or let's find a partnership that's going to work. So spend some time, you guys, finding your strengths and your weaknesses, because that's how you're going to really be able to expand.
And Brandon, I want to know, because have identified our strengths. And I always tell people, like, there's something that you're passionate about or something that you're drawn to or something that you are naturally better at. Focus on that. Why are you focused on things that I really want to change this about myself? No, focus on what you're already good at and then get specialized knowledge in that area. So I want to know for you, when you first started, what was it that you thought you were good at? Was it just like the hustle of like, I can make extra money and this is how I do it? Or what was it that you kind of knew that you were good at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the beginning, and this kind of I'll have a twofold answer to it. But first of all, in the beginning, I thought the only thing I had was my like physical like ability to knock things out. Like I could paint a room, I could hit with a hammer. And now, granted, I gained those skills. I remember going to Home Depot and getting that book that's like 1, 2, 3 home improvement. But my mindset at the time was one that said, your only value, Brandon, is your ability to paint a room or to hit a hammer. So for years, I did all my own work. And granted, I'm not saying that was a bad idea. It got like I had to have partners put in the money so I could do the deal because I had the skill needed. Now, what I didn't realize at the time is that different skills have different dollar amounts and different values attached to them, right? So what I would have rather, like looking back, and if I could tell myself younger advice, is I would have gotten better at finding properties rather like finding amazing deals rather than swinging a hammer. Swinging a hammer is a $30 an hour job. Finding a great deal is a $1,000 an hour job. I mean, either way, I had to learn either skill. I had to learn how to hit a hammer or I had to learn how to find deals. Or even higher skill than that is I could have learned how to be a CEO. I could have learned how to build a company from day one. I could have learned how to project manage. I could have learned how to like be an influencer, which is like an interesting thing. Like, not just like social media influencer, just somebody who can like influence the world around them. And that's almost like the highest form of leverage, right? Because then everyone else does the stuff. And so there are values, like different levels to that skill. I brought the hammer. I brought the paintbrush. Today I bring, I think, something a lot different. I bring more of that like influence to the table.
And I think it changes as you go along. And that's also another thing I'm learning for myself is that it's fine if it changes. Like back in the day, I was a real estate agent and I got specialized knowledge for that. I did pretty well. And now I'm getting into investing and it's okay to change. Like you started and you were the actual one doing the physical work. When you started to scale up a bit, that's when you're kind of allowed to change like your specialized knowledge because you kind of did have to start in the beginning saving money because you're getting loans, from your parents and line of credit. You have to save money from a construction point of view by doing it yourself. So you kind of had to do that. And then once you didn't have to anymore, you started saving a bit more capital, then you can kind of like offset that and give it to someone else and then get specialized knowledge in a place that makes you a little bit more money, which is finding the deals and now having like the presence that you have online.
Yeah. And that brings up a good point too, is like if you have to start doing the low man jobs, the $10 an hour jobs, because that's all you can do, that's fine. But I would encourage people, don't stay there forever. Find a way out of that if you can, unless you're happy there. If you're happy there, whatever. But don't get stuck in your comfort zone.
Right.
And I think a big part of like real estate, we talked about being like a million different roads of approaching real estate, but I think something really, really important is understanding how to scale. We all start, he started living on the couch and renting the rooms. And then what do you think was the biggest scaling moment in your head that you would say like, okay, wow, I took this from that to, making whatever you make a month passively now?
Yeah, I'll tell you. This is a story. So I for a decade, I worked with a company called biggerpockets.com. They're the largest real estate investing website on the planet. I was on their podcast, right? I started their podcast. And I mean, it's a phenomenal company. I love these people and I helped build it from the ground up. But at some point, the company was sold to private equity. So we sold the company to private equity at some point. Josh was the original founder of the website. He sold most of the shares off and went and kind of retired. So they brought in this new board of directors from this private equity firm. And what do they call him? The chairman of the board, who's been in business for like 50 years. Wicked smart guy. He sits us down at this table, me and a few others at the company, and he says, so tell me what your plans are. And we go, okay, well, we've got this many developers, we've got this many, social media people, we have this many podcasts, blah, 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 and here's what we're going to do. And we have this, and here's what we're going to do. And we have this, and here's what we're going to do. And finally, he holds up his hand and he's like, you guys, stop telling me what you have and what you can do with it. Tell me what's possible and what you need to get there. And for me, it was this mind-blowing revelation. I don't know why I never thought that way. I always thought like, oh, I can swing a hammer, therefore I can do this. Or I can, I've got $100,000, I can do this. But he's like, no, tell me what's possible. Tell me where you want to go. And then let's figure out the how on the way there. So I leave that meeting like not thinking about bigger pockets necessarily. I was thinking about my own real estate. Like, whoa, could I really apply this knowledge to growing a real estate business? At the time, time, it was my wife and I were doing all the work ourselves, mostly managing ourselves, had a small portfolio of around 30 properties, or 30 units, I should say. And like, it was fine, but I left there going, how do I do this bigger? And over the next few weeks, I went to a couple conferences, I was talking to more people, and I ended up making a plan going, well, you know what's possible is buying $50 million worth of real estate. What would I have to do to buy $50 million worth of real estate? Well, I guess I would need to have a full-time person to talk with investors to raise money. I would need somebody who's just out there looking for deals left and right, like an acquisitions person. I would need a finance person to handle all the money. I would need an assistant. And over the next couple of months, I found all those people. And then instead of buying $50 million of real estate, in the timeline we had set for that goal, we ended up buying $300 million of real estate. And I should cross $1 billion in real estate by the end of this year, just because I shifted my perspective from what do I have and what can I do with it to where do I want to go and what do I need to get there. And so it's a way that most people don't think. Isn't that great? Like, think backwards. Like, think, where do you want to go? What do I need? You build that team. And guess what? Like, I didn't build it. I mean, I hired a few people in that group and then they built the company. I wasn't even involved. I mean, other than at a high level, I haven't been involved in the day-to-day. That's how I'm able to work maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week at most at that business. Yet it has grown to just crazy amounts. We just crossed 5,000 units and we've raised money from over 1,000 different accredited investors, and it just took off like a rocket ship. So if there's any advice I can give people is don't just look at your current circumstance, what you have, but ask yourself, what do you want? What is possible? If you knew you couldn't fail, what's possible? And then what do you need to get there?
There's like so many bells ringing in my head right now, but I'm just thinking for us, because we're doing our first flip together here in LA and we want to be hands-on because we want to learn a lot, but something that we've kind of been trying to decide is, okay, do we want a project manager or do we want a construction guy? And we've thought a little bit about like, okay, if we get a project manager, we can act kind of as a general contractor and like we can hire the subs and we can be in charge of everything. But then something that we've been talking about is like, but we can't scale that way. If we want to do 10 flips, our job is to find the specialized contractor that is amazing at what he does, right, and find a bunch of those that can hire the subcontractors. Because once we start to scale, we can't scale every single project and be hands-on on every single project. So that's something that we've been like talking about, because if our goal is to scale, we need to find those people that have that specialized knowledge instead of thinking that we can do everything.
Yeah, and our main goal right now is making our investors money.
Yeah, and our main goal, and I think like Ryan Pinedra and Grant Cardone, and obviously you have shown us what is possible of having a social media presence and teaching people and kind of like having people along for the journey. So we were talking the other day and I'm like, Kinsey, if our goal is to share with people, like social media does need to be a big part of our job, because we've gone into, we're in escrow now and we've gone through so much the past couple weeks and we haven't really filmed any of it because we're so busy, because we're so hands-on that we're like, we don't even think about filming it. And I'm like, kids, we need to offset some of our tasks, because we do need to have the time to answer questions on TikTok, on Instagram, film it, like have our crew film it, and like be very active on social media, because that is a huge goal of ours.
Yeah,
in our blog.
Let me give you
but we need to film.
You do, and like that's the rare and valuable skill. So you guys, like, there are 100 people who could paint. I mean, there's 1 million people who can paint a room, right? There's 1,000 people who can manage the painter. There's 100 people who can manage a team culture and all that, like a CEO. There is a few people, a handful of people who can get online and do a good job of explaining, like, and educating and inspiring. And that is the rarest and most valuable skill in the entire line of building a team. In fact, let me give you guys a framework real quick that I've been super passionate about lately. In fact, like, whenever I give a keynote now, it tends to, like, at a conference, it tends to be on this topic, because I just love this topic. And I wish somebody would have told me this early on. And if you're listening to this right now, grab a pen and paper, write these 4 things down. There's like 4 like mindset levels when it comes to building any business. I don't care if it's real estate or anything. It doesn't matter. You could be a real estate agent. It could be building a contracting business. There's 4 like levels of mindset. Level 1 is this DIY mindset. It says, how do I get this done? Just use an example. If you're going to start a carpet company, you're going to lay carpet at people's houses. That's what you want to do. You're an entrepreneur. You're going to lay carpet. So the DIY mentality, the DIY mindset says, okay, I got to learn how to stretch carpet. I got to go buy a knee kicker. I got to go and get some business cards made, because that's the mindset they approach that business in. Nothing wrong with that, but there's a limit there, right? The next level, so first one, DIY. The next one I call the project manager. The project manager mindset says, okay, I got to hire hire the carpet guy to come and lay the carpet. I mean, they're still in charge. They're still managing everything. They're showing up at the job site every day. They're involved in everything, and they're trying to spin plates all day long, trying to keep all these things spinning. But they're project manager. That's, they can maybe do a few projects at a time, but that's the limit there. The next level I call the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. And it doesn't have to actually officially be that title, but that's the mindset of, I'm going to build a company. I'm going to have 5, 6, 7, 10 employees, and they're going to do everything. I'm going to meet with each of them every week. I'm going to make sure that everyone's on task, but my team is going to do everything. And that's an amazing spot to be. The COO role is awesome. But then there's a fourth level, which is that one I'm talking about this this influence level. I call it the architect, like the person who designs it, who envisions it. And when I think of an architect, I think of Richard Branson, who owns 150 companies. I think of Elon Musk, who owns so many companies out there. Elon, maybe he works a million hours, so maybe he is a little more involved, but like Richard Branson probably doesn't know the name of half his companies because he's the visionary at the top. So the point I'm making here is like every level has a limit. You can only do so much at every level, right? But here's the beauty of this. You get to choose. You get to choose. And the greatest way to put yourself into the mindset that you want to be part of is, do you remember those like back in the 90s, the WWJD bracelets? It was like, what would Jesus do? And like, yeah, right? Yeah. I had the bracelet. And it was like, hey, would Jesus smoke pot? No, he wouldn't. So I shouldn't smoke pot, right? That was the idea. I want to make bracelets that say WW like RBD. What would Richard Branson do? Right? Like ask yourself every day, like think of the ideal entrepreneur that's at the level you want to be at. And ask yourself, would they do that? Like if Richard Branson was running a flipping company in LA, would he be calling contractors or would he be doing something else? Or let's say you don't like the Richard Branson idea. Who's a top CEO that you admire, a COO? Who's a top, ask that question and it'll put you into their mindset. And suddenly you realize like you get to choose where you go. And that is the coolest feeling, is knowing that you can choose. You can build whatever you want as long as you're conscious about, this is what I'm going to do. So anyway, rant over, but there's so much opportunity there if you choose the right mindset.
I'm so inspired because I feel like me and Kinsey have that in us, and it's been not a struggle, but it's been something that we've been thinking about. And you always hear it from like the top people. In order to scale, you need to offset these day-to-day tasks. You cannot scale if you're doing that. So finding people that specialize in things that you need done, spending time finding people that specialize in that is more valuable than spending your time trying to be specialized in that. And that's a huge takeaway for us.
But finding good employees is not easy. I've done it with my other companies, and that's also been a big struggle. And that's why I think with us being the way that we are just so driven that we don't like to let go of control either, because we know, unfortunately, that like we might just do it better. Yeah. So it's like finding, so for you, when you were scaling your business, what do you recommend, like when you were looking for employees and looking for good people that you trusted so that you could back away for 4 hours a week? Like, what do you recommend there?
Like how to find them.
Yeah, such a great question. So this is one of the benefits too of social media and having some kind of a following. And I know people listening are going to go, well, it must be nice to have that. But there's ways to do it around that. But let me explain. Yeah, you can build a following, right? And there's such value in that. So many reasons to do that. But all of my best people, all of them came from the ground up through my organization. So, I mean, my CEO or my COO, I guess, like the guy who runs my entire company, he was an unpaid intern for 6 months before I paid him a dime. My investor relations guy was an intern. My assistant was an intern. All like my acquisitions specialist, my VP of acquisitions, intern. They all came through some sort of trial test internship. In fact, when we go out there, like we just had a job opening for one of my partners needing an assistant. So we put it out there to the world. Hey, we're looking for an assistant to this awesome real estate investor, Brian Murray. We had almost 1,200 people apply for that position. We then run them through test after test after test. We give them a series of about 5 or 6 tests, and every one whittles it down from 1,200 to 600 to about 200, down to about 100, down to about 20. And honestly, the first few tests we don't even care about. We just want to know, do you do it? Like, send us a video in MP4 format that explains who you are. I don't even watch the videos. I don't care what the video says. Like, I want to know, did you make a video in MP4? Yeah, did you follow the test, right? Boom, you did it, you're in the top. We call it running the gauntlet. Like you have to run through this gauntlet, and everybody that we have pretty much comes through that. So here's why that's so important. Number one, you never know how somebody is until you work with them. They could be your best friend in the world. They could be, I mean, I've hired my best friend in the world and it was a disaster. Like you could, like this year, yeah, okay, not the disaster for you guys yet, but
yeah,
you could hire, like,
I've hired a few friends, but it's fine.
Yeah, sometimes it's great, sometimes not, and you never know. It's not about them, it's just about the magic. Like you might have magic, you might not. You don't know. Like, I can tell there's magic with you two, right? But you wouldn't have known that unless you got some work. So find ways to work with people before you get married. Date before. I mean, imagine like meeting somebody at the bar and you're like, hey, you want to get married? Like, how awkward would that be? Why do we do that in business? So
date them before you marry
right?
them.
Date them. Yeah. So internships, partnerships, JV, whatever you can do, find a way to work together before you work together all the time. And then, yeah, raising from your own tribe or from your own group breeds a loyalty that I don't think you can get otherwise. And again, the social media helps with that. You might not get 1,200 people to apply, but you might get 50. You might get 20. And if you have to go to the wide world out there, okay, still run the gauntlet. Like, find ways to test them and make sure they're going to be good. Don't get married before you date. And then finally, manage the people right. There's a great book out there. It's called Traction by Gino Wickman.
Right next to you.
I know, I've got a lot of books everywhere. I just like grab them when I need them. Traction is about how to manage a team. It's very much like a COO type of a book, but it was phenomenal in getting our entire team's goals and processes and people and culture and everything all together synced in a row, and we are all marching in one direction. And when that happened, my workload went from 20 hours a week down to under 5, because all of a sudden I wasn't managing people, the system was managing people. So things like that helped a ton. Oh, by the way, one more book I don't know. Oh, right here. It's sitting on my desk. Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. Yeah, it's that mindset, right? Stop thinking, how am I going to do this? And start asking, who's going to do this? Even little things like you guys said earlier, right? You have to find some contractors that are awesome. I would ask the question, who's going to find me contractors that are awesome, right? Because somebody out there will find you contractors that are awesome.
That's so true, because everything else is being brought to us. The deal's being brought to us. The money's being brought to us. Now we need to find someone that find the contractor.
And if you guys are listening, you want to get involved into real estate, like, I think the best advice that, like, if I were to go back 5 years from now and I was really interested in real estate, is the value of being an intern. People want money and they want to they're like, oh, you're not going to pay me? Are you kidding? This conversation of an hour we're spending with Brand and what we've learned is revolutionary. Imagine if I was an intern under him.
Yeah.
This time, what you would learn, and you'd be able to grow and build any empire you want if you put in that hard work in the beginning and got to be around those people. We try and get in the room with anybody we can, because that's a learning opportunity. And so if you can do that, if that means working for free and showing them who you are, that's adding value, working for free. So stop just thinking like, oh, this job's going to pay me $50 an hour. This job's going to change my life.
Yeah.
Some job I'm not getting paid, but I'll figure out a way to make money, but this is going to change my life.
You know, I would also argue that it's not even like let's say somebody's listening right now and going, okay, I want to do that. I want to get around some big real estate investor in my area. I want to go help them. And then you go to that person, you're like, hey, I want to help you. What's that person going to go? They're going to go, oh, shoot, I don't know what you can do for me. Now all of a sudden I got all this pressure to try to find a work for you. I'm out, right? So the alternative is like thinking, what problems do this person have? And it might be completely unrelated to real estate. For example, right now, the biggest problem I have in my life is when my wife is teaching my daughter school, because she's homeschooling my kindergartner, my 2-year-old son is just running wild. And like, it's really hard. So now I have to like take a break from whatever I'm doing to go watch my 2-year-old. I love that, but that hurts business. So guess what? If somebody showed up and was like, hey, let me take your 2-year-old to the park every day at 4:00, so your wife, like, it would change my life. And you think that I would be grateful to that person? You think I would pour into that person and give contacts and like help them get started? Definitely, because they solved my problem, right? So find the problem in that person's life and then go solve that. It might be completely unrelated to real estate. It probably is unrelated to real estate.
Spend time with them. They're going to share their knowledge. They're going to help you grow. Because when we have had employees, whenever I've had an employee that's amazing to me, you better bet I want to like offer them so much value and so much growth. So if you add value to someone else, I mean, unless they're just a complete dick, but I don't know, then they're going to want to add value back to you. So like, learn how to add value to other people and get in the right rooms and help them in their life whatever way you can, even if it's with their 2-year-old. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the only way you're going to know what their problem is if you actually spend some time with those people. Like, networking is changed our life. Networking is literally how we built businesses. Like, it's because of our network. How did we get $100,000 sent to us for our deal? It's because of our network. So putting in the time right now as well for your network. You don't know what you're going to use them for. You don't know how you're going to benefit from them. Start putting in time to people that you know are high-end people that can add value in the future. They don't have to add value right now, but it's like you're planting your garden, kind of. Maybe you want a tomato today. Maybe you want another vegetable another day. You need to plant your garden now in order order to reap the benefits for later. Because then when you need a private money lender, you've already spent 6 months like spending time with this person, adding value to their life. Now you need $100,000 and they're like, sure, like I trust you, I know you.
And sit down with them in person. Like when we spent a lot of time being like, okay, we've met with, 15 private money lenders in the last few weeks, but meeting with them in person, it really brings that like extra layer of like, let's just grab a coffee. So like for us, our work day is very blocked out. We time block every hour. So 12, we know we're going to go grab a coffee with a new person, whether that be a contractor, private money lender, investor, whatever it is to bring to business. Because the second that you have that personal connection, it just changes things.
Yeah.
I've messaged a lot of people online, but I don't know, the second I meet them, it's a different flow in business. And I call the private money, he's like, oh yeah, Kins, I got you. It's all of a sudden Kins. It's not Kins anymore. We're on that level.
When you get a nickname, you know you're good. Okay?
We're in.
Well, let me fire a question at you two, because I'm curious how you approach this. Because you're both, you both have following online, and people want to probably reach out and grab coffee and pick your brain, right? So how do you deal with that when people are like, hey, can we grab coffee? And like they don't necessarily have any value to you. And the reason I ask you that is because I want the audience to know, how should they approach influencers or people that are busy and actually get an audience with them? So how do you deal with that, and then how should they approach them?
I think that's again finding your strength. Everybody wants something and everybody needs something. So when we're reaching out, whether we're emailing them, like when I'm reaching out even on Facebook, so maybe they don't know that I have millions of followers. It's like I'm a private money lender, and I come out of the gates with, hey, we're planning doing $20 million worth of deals this year. We're really looking for a stable private money lender. I would love to see if that would be you. And then they see like, whoa, okay, that's a big number, and I would love to. So you got to figure out that private money lender wants to do deals.
Yeah.
So I knew to him that was enticing, and that was not even me messaging from my Instagram.
Yeah. So I think the followers help, and obviously that is a value add that we've identified about ourselves. And like we talked about before, find your value add. This is our value add, but it doesn't mean it's impossible if you don't have a following. I think it is important. Like your social presence is important. So you should make your Instagram look good, have a good profile picture. But more than anything, it's a numbers game. Everything is a numbers game. The more you reach out to people, the more likely you're able to get someone to reply. Our conversion rate is like 95%. So we don't really have to message. Like I message you and I message Ryan.
Not with she was building an app in the metaverse. She's an absolute boss. And so she needed a software engineer.
Yeah. So that's what I was getting to, is that like when we're doing it now, the conversion rate is really good. So we message 5 people, we usually get 4 replies. So that's really good. If your conversion rate isn't that good, that's okay. You just need to message more people. When I was on LinkedIn and I was messaging, I have this app called Digiland, and it's a marketplace for real estate in the metaverse. I needed a software engineer, and I am a real estate agent. Like a software engineer isn't likely to like reply to me. And I was messaging on LinkedIn because they don't always have like Instagrams and stuff. So I was messaging on LinkedIn, and the conversion rate was not very good. I had to message like 25, 30 people a day. There's like a cap with LinkedIn. So I could only message, because I would have messaged way more than that. But then I had to go and find their email or their number and then do messages that way. But I was messaging like 25 to 30 people a day, software engineers, just to get like 1 to 2 lunches a week, which doesn't seem like that much, but that was so valuable. And I ended up finding a software engineer. But that was so valuable because I had to understand, what is my conversion rate? I'm not getting a lot of replies. It's really hard to find like the software engineers' emails and phone numbers. But you need to know first your conversion rate, and second, what it's going to take to get like 1 or 2 coffee dates a week. And so I think that's how you solve that.
And that perfectly applies to real estate investing, like trying to find deals too, right? People are like, oh, I can't find any real estate deals. I'm like, well, how many offers have you made? Well, 1. Well, I'm like, or none, right? Like you got to have, like in a crazy market, it's not harder to do real estate. You just have to do more. You have to make more offers. You have to analyze more deals. So it's just a numbers game. In all business, it's such a numbers game, which is why I like books like this, Traction, like I mentioned earlier, because like we have goals now that are like process goals. In other words, like in my company, we had a goal of submitting 75 offers a quarter. Now that changes every quarter, but for example, a given quarter is typically 75 offers. Now these are multi-million-dollar deals. And so because of that, we get about 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of every 15 offers accepted. We buy about 5 properties every quarter. So that's how we've been able to scale from 0 to almost whatever we're at now, almost $500 million. We should be, like I said, $1 billion by the end of the year. And it's very predictable, because the truth is, in any area of a life, success should never be a surprise. Success, like nobody woke up one day and went, oh my gosh, look at my 6-pack. Where'd that come from? Like they worked at it for 3 years and they ate healthy. Of course they have a 6-pack. Look at your social media followings. That didn't happen naturally. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. You were meticulous. You planned it. You had a process. You have strategy behind it.
Like a business.
So like, It's run it like a business. That's what it is. And so when you can put numbers and goals and processes behind the results that you want to get to, and then just work your process, you're going to get the results you want. So I love that you brought that up about calling people. I've actually never done that on like Instagram or LinkedIn. And I don't know why. I never really thought about it that way, but I mean, you just totally blew my mind in that way.
We've worked together for 5 years, but we just started doing investing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're brand new to this. But when we first started together, yeah, we've done it separately. But now we're doing it together. But the biggest thing that I learned, even obviously in real estate, but also developing my app, is that everything is a numbers game. And also, where is your conversion rate the best? We know that our conversion rate, obviously her Instagram has a good conversion rate, but we also know in person we have a very high conversion rate. So if you kind of know where you have the best conversion rate, it really is a numbers game. We know if we talk to 5 private money lenders in person, there's one of them that's going to find us an incredible deal with a low interest rate with, 1 or 2 points up front. So, which is a great deal. So if we know that all we have to do is get in front of 5 private money lenders, and you can do that in a week. If you know your conversion, you know your numbers, it's not rocket science. It's really, really not. Like, know the power of picking up the phone and being like, you want to grab coffee today for 30 minutes? Or not
even the phone anymore. Now it's like Instagram is so powerful. Like just using LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the platforms.
And you don't need a following. You just need to up your numbers if you don't have a following.
And have a good professional page. I like that.
Yeah, a good professional page. Because like you can't look like a robot. It has to be like John Smith or something where we can see your name, we can see your profile picture, and you reach out to people, send them your number. I mean, I always send them my number in LinkedIn. I don't really get that scared about it. I'm like, hey, reach out to me, and then they call me, and I'm like, hey, look, now that's already 2 points of contact. I got you in. I touched you on LinkedIn. I touched you on the text message. Now we're gonna meet in person. Once you have 8 touches with someone, they're more likely to trust you with something.
And we actually we're on a little bit of do not call list at this point in our life, but we actually used to, 5 years ago, when we were trying to get listings for real estate. So if you're trying to buy off market properties, we would get the phone numbers from every single area code in that area and voicemail drop. Yeah. So we had a recorded voicemail like, hi, this is Kinsey and Jessica Realty. We just passed by your house. We were wondering if you ever thought about selling. And it would drop to everybody in that area code, thousands and thousands of people a day. And people would call back and be like, I have thought about selling. I'm like, you're right, Karen, let me head on over.
It was crazy. Voicemail drops are a hidden gem. Like I think
it was illegal.
It is illegal. It is. But there's different ways to go about it. Like we didn't know at the time. We were
19.
We didn't know. So what you don't know, it's like, ignorance is bliss. So one of the times when we first started the first week, we got this call from this guy, and he sent us a voicemail. He goes, you said, do I want to sell my house? Yeah, I actually really want to sell my house. We literally went to his house and got the listing.
And we were like,
we're like,
so numbers, it's a numbers game. And then we realized we can't be on the phone because we were cold calling, we were door knocking, and I was like, okay, I can only door knock 25 doors in this hour. This isn't making sense. So how about we just hit more numbers and do it all? And then they just hear our name more and more in their mouth. But figure out how you do numbers.
That leads to what we talked about earlier, right? Imagine you wanted to create a really successful real estate brokerage, right? There are a lot of things that have to happen in there. There's the door knocking, there's the outreach, there's the cold calling, maybe all that stuff you could do to generate traffic or interest. You don't have to do any of that. Like if you were thinking who, not how, right? Like this whole who, not how idea. It's like, okay, if what's possible is doing 100 sales a year, how would I do 100 sales a year? Well, I wouldn't be able to show every house to every person that wanted to work with me. That's for sure. Okay, so I guess I would need a showing assistant. Okay, I wouldn't want to do the cold call. I guess I would need some marketing people, right? So once you start asking, how do I do that and like, what's the only thing you as an agent have to do? Like, I mean, I'm not an agent, so I don't know the industry that well, but you could probably get down to like, you meet with the client one time and then answer some texts when people start to freak out. And most of your people can handle the rest of that. That's how the celebrities on TV, right? The Selling Sunset people. I'm sure they don't do a whole ton of the door-to-door
dirty
stuff. Yeah, exactly. They're not doing the work. They got teams of people that do it for them. And I love that mentality. Good for them. They figured it out.
Well, Brandon, I wanted to ask you one more thing. How did you get started? Because I actually I thought you were the founder of Bigger Pockets.
I thought so too. I thought
you are the face. You are the person I think of. I listen to your audiobooks. So you are, for me, Bigger Pockets. But How did you get started? You're not the founder?
Yeah, I actually wasn't. Josh Dorkin founded it. Josh is one of my best friends. Actually lives in my neighborhood now. We're besties. But so Josh started it alone, and it was an acting website for actors to learn how to like make more money as an actor. And then that didn't grow, and he was an actor in Hollywood, or trying to be anyway. And it wasn't working. So Josh pivoted it and made it a real estate thing. That's when I found it. Was very early on, and I started just helping out, like answering questions, and all that. And I became friends then with Josh in probably a similar way to you guys working together. We became friends, and then we're like, wow, we really like this. We like each other. We like working together. And what it was this magic spark that, like, there's a great book out there called Rocket Fuel. It's actually the sequel to Traction. I mean, I'm just dropping book names left and right, but Rocket Fuel is, it's this idea that some people are really good at the vision and some people are good at like doing the work to make it happen. And you have to have both that. That's Rocket Fuel. And so Josh, like, it wasn't like when I came in, Bigger Pockets blew up because I was so smart and gifted. I'm kind of a moron, but I was the doer to his vision. And then when he retired, I became the vision, and we brought in another team, like a team of doers, including Scott Trench, who's now CEO. And then when I stepped away now to kind of do my own thing, there's new vision and new, like, it's that rocket fuel. So anyway, that's the background of Bigger Pockets. And then meanwhile, I just built my real estate investing alongside of it the whole time, from 0 to 5,000 units. The whole time I was with Bigger Pockets, just kept building. So.
Wow, that's incredible. Speaking of books, you guys, if you guys are interested, Brandon has a ton of books.
Yeah.
They're all incredible.
Yeah.
He's sold
Way too many.
1 million copies. So check those out. Check out his socials. You can see all of his videos on Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets is incredible still, but once you stop really making videos, I kind of stopped watching. Gotta be honest here. I don't.
Brandon, you were Bigger Pockets. You were Bigger Pockets. So like,
thank you.
It doesn't exist anymore because it was Brandon Turner.
That's
like,
funny.
That's what we think of.
Well,
no, I think
I'm coming back on. I got an episode coming up pretty soon. I'm coming back on. I just needed a little break, so I went and toured the world for 3 months with my family. I'll start helping out again now.
You deserve that. You deserve that.
But I have read your book, I think, like 5 times in a row.
Oh.
And then there's David Green, the Burr, and then there's I said I let David Green write the Burr book, even though I coined the term. He wrote the Burr book because he's actually way better at it than I am.
Did you really
he's good at Burr.
Term?
Yeah.
Wow.
Burr, yeah. I wrote a blog post about this weird strategy that I did that other people seem to do and nobody knew what to call it. And so I was like, let's just call it buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. It's like flipping, but you hold on to it.
Really, you started a nationwide phenomenon. Like it's YouTube, it's everywhere.
Not to pat myself on the back too much here, but I also started the term house hacking. I wrote an article about house hacking, and that became now agents use it in their listings all the time. Like, great for house hacking when it's like the duplex setting. So
Did you trade
that was another.
Yeah, did you trademark them?
I didn't, and here's why. If you trademark it, you have to attack people who use it. So there's some like other terms in the industry that are trademarked, and you know that because they will sue you if you use those terms. And so like I can't even use them on a podcast. Like just like certain like I want to buy your house phrases you can't use because they'll sue you for using them, which is just ridiculous because they trademarked it and they have to. It's not their fault.
And it's kind of fantastic that they continue to use it because honestly people do kind of give you the shout out. So it's kind of beneficial that they use it. You're like, use my word, but just give me some love.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, yeah, follow me on Instagram and you can use my word. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you guys should follow him on Instagram also. Wait, do you have a YouTube channel?
Your own personal?
Not yet. I mean, I do, but I don't really post on it yet. So I'll get back into it at some point soon, but we'll get there. Right now, I'm TikTok, Instagram. That's my two things now.
Yeah. And December 16th, we're getting you on
we
TikTok.
we also need to refer you some. We have some amazing like editors and like social media.
Oh, yeah. I would love to learn how you guys kill it. So, I mean, just kill it. So I'm all like, I started following both of you a little while ago, just like trying to figure out how, you're both amazing at it. So
you answered right away. Like I thought it was going to be hard to get people on our podcast. I don't know why, but then everyone answered right away. And I was like, Kinsey, I think we could get Tony Robbins on this podcast.
You probably could get Tony Robbins. So the secret, you guys have probably found this already, but the secret to getting big people, like we've had like a ton of big guests. I learned this from Gary Vaynerchuk in one of his books, is you wait till they have a book coming out. When people have a book coming out or a movie, they're on sale. So like Gary Vaynerchuk will charge you $100,000 to go on your podcast, but if he's got a book coming out, he'll do it for free. So it's all about, same with like all the big guys. So actively monitor the publishing companies, like get in touch with the publishing companies, who's the promotion people at the publishing companies, find out ahead of time what books, I'm just giving away all Bigger Pocket secrets here. Find out what big books are coming out, and there you got your guests lined up for the next few months. It works like a charm.
What a life hack.
Wow, but I will say how you build a cult following is by giving secrets away. That's what Tony Robbins always preaches. You have to add value because like most of the time people aren't going to use it anyways because it's the action people that you got to worry about, but there's not that many people that will actually take action. But I think just like teaching people and giving those secrets away, like that is what sets you apart, and that is what set Bigger Pockets apart, is that they were teaching people what these multi-billionaire investors will never sit down and teach people. And I think that's how you guys have now built an empire, and now you like kind of stepping away. Bigger Pockets gave you that platform, and now like we're, you know, with all of our followers, like we look to you, and that brings so many eyeballs to you as well, having like influencers now looking at you as the person, you know, that they want to learn from. So congratulations on creating your empire. We're so proud of you.
Hey, 2 quick points on that. One, when I was like, 24, 25, I started kind of playing with the online world. I set a goal for myself. I said, I want to be the guy that celebrities and athletes and like, you know, influencers, kind of not a term at the time, but like basically that's what I meant. Like people online, I wanted to be the guy they go to. And I've been kind of working toward that for like, you know, over a decade now, which is cool to hear you say that, because like that was the original goal. It was like, I want to be that person. That was actually like a literal goal I had. So it's cool. It's a testament to like when you have a goal and just like work towards it and like verbalize it, like the things just naturally come true. The second thing I'll point out is this. So I've raised like $150 million now from social media, like $150 million from social media. Like I can't even believe like those words make sense, right? But they do. And here's why. It's not, I mean, I rarely ask for money on social media. Like I rarely like go out there and like say, hey, I'm raising money right now, come give me money. In fact, there's a lot of ways you have to do that the right way. It could be illegal. But here's the thing. I once had an investor who gave me tons of money, and he said this. He said, Brandon, the reason I invested in Open Door Capital, which is my company, Open Door Capital, the reason I invested in Open Door Capital is because of how you talk about your wife online. Let that sink in for a minute. Like how I talk about, and I'm not patting myself on the back here. What I'm saying is like people watch who you are and they invest in you. They want to work for you. They don't want the deal. I mean, like the deal should make sense, right? But the reason you two are able to attract all that private money and you're finding deals and wholesalers is not because you have the world's best deals. I hope you do. It's because people like you and they trust you and they want to do business with people they like and trust. So that applies to everybody listening right now. Is like you said earlier, plant your garden now, or I like to say dig your well before you're thirsty. They're watching you right now. Your private lender from 5 years from now is watching what you're doing right now, how you talk about your wife, your kids, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your date nights, whatever. They're watching.
That's what's literally anything that I've seen that I've like in business wise, it's kind of like that, not saying guys like, but if a guy and I'm in a bit talking with them business and they say something degrading about their wife or about their morals, as far as like their entire moral compass, like they cheat or the second, like that's why you play golf with business people, because if they mess up the score, because golf is pretty easy, like, oh no, I got that was a par for me, then you take them golfing first, and if they're not all good morally, I'm like, nope, we're not doing that.
No, it is true though, because even like how you build a following and how you get people to like you, and obviously no one's going to give money to anyone they don't like, but how you get people to like you and follow you is like you are a nice person that people, they trust you with like their kids, I guess, like, or their family, you know, like they trust you in the sense where it's like, Brandon, you know, my Uncle Brandon. So I think that's a huge thing that people undervalue that. They're like, oh, I need the best deal. I need all the money in the world. No, you just need to be a good person.
And work hard.
I call it intentional authenticity, which means like you're being authentic, but you're intentional. Like you're making a point to show that you're authentic. So in other words, here's a good example. I will sometimes tell people, I've told this numerous times, that, and it's totally true, that I am most self-conscious in life about my voice. Like I've never, since I was a little kid, I was made fun of. I was in speech therapy, and I to today, I have a hard time. Ironic, I'm known for my voice, but
like it stands out so much.
Right? Isn't that funny? But by saying that, I have made a point. I have been intentional about opening up and being vulnerable. And so I'm not hiding my vulnerability. I'm broadcasting them. And I talk about like things that I'm struggling with, or if I have a deal goes bad, I'm like, oh, like we left 80 grand because of a bad tax mistake a couple weeks ago that I had to eat. And I'm like, so I like put that out. I have a text message newsletter, told all 30,000 people on that list. Yeah, I just screwed up and I lost 80 grand. It sucks. It hurts to lose that money. But because of that, I bet you I will raise millions more over my career because I was intentional. Because now they're like, oh, he's not just showing us the highlight reel, he's showing us what's real. So that'd be my encouragement for everybody is don't hide the authentic you. Be intentional about it.
Exacerbate it.
I mean, this was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I was expecting great, but this was really, really nice. Thank you so much for coming
We knew
on.
you would be great, but you still blew it out of the water. What about
Well, thank you. Thank you. You two are phenomenal hosts. So this has been awesome.
Thank you. So don't forget, you guys, follow Brandon Turner on all social media platforms. Check out his books. Check out anything else he's got going on right now, and check out ours as well.
Where would you say, Brandon, if we were gonna give people to follow you, where would you say the best place? Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah, probably either Instagram or TikTok. It's just Beardy Brandon, like beard with a Y, Beardy Brandon. TikTok or Instagram.
Oh, it's very
Beardy
catchy.
Brandon. And then what are the top 2 books that you would recommend that you wrote?
Oh man, okay, that I've wrote. I thought you were gonna say in general. Okay, so if you're brand new to real estate and you don't know what path you want to go down, like you don't know if flipping or vacation rentals or whatever, you want a high level overview. I wrote one specifically for that. It's probably my least bestseller. Like it's the one that's sold probably the least, but it's the one that every beginner should read. It's called How to Invest in Real Estate. It's like here's broad. So that's the one I'd probably recommend. And then the most popular one is called the book on rental property investing. That's the one that sold millions of copies. And that's just how to do rentals.
Yes, you guys check those books out. I promise you, you will learn something. Brandon, we appreciate you so much.
Thanks.
You've been such an inspiration.
Appreciate you too.
And we're going to see you in LA, right?
Yeah.
You're going to come have
Yes,
an event.
we're gonna do it.
Okay.